everyone, it's RuPaul's Drag Race, season 13, episode 2, Condragulations. So I'm gonna start off by just saying there's a lot that I like about this season already. Queens, super strong. I still don't have an opinion on who, if I had to let someone go, who I feel is deserving. Sometimes there's even like 2 or 3 where you're like, you're kind of sliding to the bottom of the list. I think it's an exceptionally strong season. There's a lot of stuff that I do like. I like that we still are getting to know them. I don't mind the twist. I said in the premiere episode, my concerns, which I felt like it was too much, like there wasn't quite enough telling them that we're not done yet. Like, I had said that it should have been something that's like, there's still one more chance, or this is your last chance or something, because I didn't want to see them that low. And so, but there seems to be, I do look on Twitter some, and I see some Instagram, kind of random stuff, that where a lot of people were like, oh, I don't like this twist at all. I'm kind of fine with it. I kind of like, this is the 13th season of just this show, not mentioning All Stars, which has, I don't necessarily like all the twists. I like these twists a lot more than I like the All Star twist, where they're like voting each other off. But I was really, really suspicious because I didn't want Elliot with 2 T's to go home. I even wrote go home with a question mark because I was still not convinced. So I like that choice that they made. But there's more going on. So let's get into the actual episode. But my point is that I'm actually liking it. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of nice to see the queens a little off their game, not quite knowing what's going to happen, and not crazy about all the behavior. I'm going to get into some of that too, but it has more of a like early seasons feel where they don't totally know what is going to happen. Okay, so let's get into it. So just to back up in case you didn't see my first premiere, my recap of the premiere. There was 13 of them. They lip synced. There was one winner for every group, and then there was one loser or 2 in one case. The losers get sent to the pork chop lounge, which is a reference to the very first queen ever cut from the show. And I even made the point last week where I was like, there's a lot of really strong queens who were cut first, and in fact, I almost think it's stronger to be cut first than it is like second or third. I think a lot of the queens that I don't really remember were like snuck into that like 2 or 3 spot. So I actually consider the first one out is also the most likely to be able to come back in a future season. Whereas if you're 4, 5, 6, unless you have like Eureka an injury of some kind, you're probably not coming back. But you're also probably not coming into All Stars unless it gets to where they're doing the All Stars every 6 months, and then you can probably get in, unless you really burned your bridges. Some people are, so they have these 2 groups. I've heard some people say that it's about COVID restrictions, and if it is, it's not about the contestants, it's about the staff. Because this is why, let me go through this, which is they all met and they shook hands right away. They didn't do any pretend, no mask, no nothing. And then all those people then broke in half and started a new group. So if cross-contamination wise, if one sick person, now the entire group is sick. There's no way, if they had 6 come in 2 separately, then that would be 2 isolation groups. So my guess is that it has nothing to do with keeping the contestants. But I did think, what I did hear from some of the limited press chatter that you just can't avoid, is that they were much more isolated from the crew than it's ever happened in the past. I've said this before, I hosted on a reality show, there's quite a bit of intermingling. You're having people help you with your mics, you're having people do this and that. I noticed the mic packs were a little different this year, and so I'm wondering if even they changed that so there'd be less direct contact. So there is a possibility that this is less about the contestants being safe from each other and instead keeping the production in a bubble. And so they were like, okay. But at some point they're gonna, unless they keep doing this for like 3 or 4 weeks, which would really be a shock. I mean, like an additional like 7 or 8 they get down to combining or something. But unless they do that, at some point they're gonna get this group together. Maybe though it's been long enough, maybe they're in isolation long enough to where they can then at that point handle, and what I mean by that is at some point you have so many contestants that it just gets difficult. You have to have, I don't know how they do it. We worked on a very low budget reality show, so I have no idea what it's like in comparison to like The Bachelor, although one of our cameramen was on The Bachelor. Anyway, I'm getting so far away from the show you don't care. Anyway, I'm not totally sure if COVID played any part in this, because like the judges have plexiglass, but then the girls are like dancing all over each other. So anyway, so we have the bottom queens that to vote someone out. I'm totally against it. They don't know anything. Of course, they get 2 of the comedy queens. A lot of people did not like Elliot with 2T's outfit. And I was like, maybe because I'm young enough, or sorry, definitely not young enough. Maybe because I'm old enough. I was very young in the 80s, but I was heavily influenced by like Splash with Daryl Hannah was is still one of my favorite movies. It's one of those, not really appropriate for like a 4-year-old girl to be binge watching, but that is something I did. This is so Daryl Hannah and Splash. So maybe I'm a little, in like early Madonna, although I don't know if the pattern would have been Madonna, but everyone was like, oh, I don't like the pattern. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but that's part of the look. Like, that's what makes it kind of retro and pleathery. And anyway, so I actually liked it. But it was interesting to me that they got the 2 comedy queens and they voted over the bottom, which is very, very common. We see that almost every season, that they underestimate. Bendela Creme was one, Jinx Monsoon, Trixie Mattel. I don't know why this happens, but it ends up being that the kooky comedy queens that the viewers love, and I know not everybody loves them, but enough to make it a large demographic, the peer queens don't seem to really get. And so I'm guessing that's something to do with drag culture. Maybe that's biases within the community. I don't know. You're an expert. Please tell me what the deal is. But it was disappointing to me that Elliot and Utica were on the bottom and they tied. And then it was surprising to me that those were the 2. And then they voted again, and apparently it was unanimous, although unless Elliot voted for himself, so it wasn't perfectly unanimous. Might have been, though. And they say you're going home, and then we get the big twist, which is she joins the winners group. And this is where things, once again, kind of derailed for me. I can't really blame... This is once again where I feel like Drag Race, and I don't know if I didn't think about it enough whether I would anticipate this, because it kind of surprised me, so maybe it surprised them too, is the way that she came in and everyone was like, Lord of the Flies, really aggressive, who do you think you are you a spy? And I'm like, a spy for what? When has Drag Race ever, like, in what situation would they, or you're a mole? In what case they're going to tell them, oh, hey, they're doing drag over there? Like, I didn't quite get what that spy mole thing could have even, how that could have even functioned if that was true, which Candy Muse did tweet last night that she's like, I don't know what we were on, what we thought the spy thing was. So I was like, okay, good. Don't try to defend that. The best thing you can do, this is something I told one of the contestants in the show that I hosted, was like, when you catch yourself doing bad behavior, don't make excuses for it. Just be like, I don't know, I was worked up. People understand that. They don't, Anyway, I'm talking too much about the show. The one show that I was on, Knockout, Knockout, is on Amazon Prime, so go and watch if you want. Anyway, and then you can go tell me whether I was a terrible host or maybe not half bad. Anyway, Elliot with 2 T's comes in and everyone's like, and I wish that Drag Race would have done more to prepare everyone that there's more twists coming. Like a siren going off and being like, don't get too comfortable, you don't know what's coming up next. Or, something like that, because I wanted the queens to be a little bit more prepared for the fact that they really weren't down to 6. Like this whole like, oh, these queens coming back, they never left. You had one 5-minute challenge and you think that they flew out 7 girls just to get rid of them right off the bat? Like, at least in the Pork Chop Lounge, they were having a discussion about what would happen. Like, are we really done or not? And most of them said that they didn't really believe they were done. I believe it was Tamisha felt differently, but Tamisha's had a really rough couple of years. I fully understand her glass half empty attitude. I adore her, so I don't blame her for feeling that way. But at least they kind of had this discussion like, there's got to be a twist. This is we're not done. The winner's circle seemed really content to be like, oh yeah, we're good. Now I can't say that if all of them. Maybe I missed someone. I was watching in the dark. That's why I have almost no notes. Anyway, so back to the episode. I've gotten way off on a ramble. I apologize. I hope you're watching it like 2 times speed. So there's 7 of them. They're going to do a song, Condragulations. They're going to add their own verse. They're going to do their own choreography. And they have a fashion show. It's actually a super enjoyable episode. There's only 7 of them. But I really get a chance to get to know them all. We get to see who's kind of a lot, which is Candy Muse and Tina Burner. Kind of a lot, kind of a little aggressive. Wasn't the best way to play it. Get to know all of the rest of them a little bit more. And they're going to do, which they've done for several seasons, like a day and a night look. And then also this challenge. Tons. At the end of this episode, I've now seen everyone lip sync. I've seen everyone put together like a fashion show and show a really strong aesthetic. I've also seen them dance and write and perform and do a runway look. Like, I mean, this is like almost the full experience. The only thing we're missing, which is one of my favorite things, is like the opportunity for a lot of humor. But this is we have now seen a huge range of people. So, lots of looks. We see Tina Burner reiterating this red and yellow. I'm going to kind of clump them into groups. There was a lot going on. I didn't take very good. Gottmik, once again, super strong looks. Simone stepping them up with super strong looks. Both of them were 2 of my favorites. A lot of people were kind of in the middle. I didn't really feel like we had very many bottoms, so I'm not going to really point out anyone's at the bottom because I really wasn't sure where we were going with that. I will point out Tina Burner, the repetition of the red and yellow, and they really liked the Tin Man. I felt that the hair was really flat and looked less silver. I would have liked that looked like sprayed silver, and it looked like sprayed silver to me. Maybe it was the lighting. That was something that I hadn't heard Michelle say before. Maybe because they're so strong, she's making different kinds of critiques, but she's like, remember, this is TV and not theater. Play more to your camera, that kind of stuff. And so I felt like even the critiques were the critiques of a top 7 or a top 3 or a top 4 or an all-stars even critique, as opposed to like, have you heard of something called pads and corsets kind of level of critiques. I thought it was super strong. So even as I'm making these critiques, it's like super minor stuff. I wasn't crazy about Candy Muse's fembot sort of inspired thing. I didn't see a lot of LeMay. I gotta call it out for Gottmilk's outfit was amazing, such a strong performer. But Simone was the one who got me to go like, when she came out in a boxer's outfit, and I was like, oh, that's so smart, so smart. Whenever they have these kind of challenges and someone comes out in an outfit that just blows your mind, it's such a good aesthetic choice. Everyone's going to do LeMay gowns, do LeMay boxers, of course, because of course that is such an iconic look that we instantly understood, and I wouldn't have thought of it. And then when I saw it, I went, how did I not think of this? This is so perfect. Loved it. We ended up with Simone and Olivia in the top, which kind of surprised me. Olivia was super strong, gorgeous smile. Like, she should be in an ad for dentists because it's one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen. I just didn't think that she was the top over Gottmik, but that's fine. They said a lot about the performance, which is not my strength. Not that fashion's my strength. I get that, or makeup. But it was just a matter of, I was kind of surprised to see Olivia up there, but not because I thought she was bad, just because she hadn't stood out to me. But then Gottmik thought she was in the bottom, and I was like, did I not hear the judging? Was she the bottom? But I think everyone was so strong that even a single critique, like even a single be more confident in the dancing, and I do have to say, I kind of glossed over this. Gottmik is a trans man. I will be using he out of drag and she in drag because that's what she said she's comfortable with, because she feels that he feels that he's part of the community, so he wants the same use of pronouns as the rest of the community. So I tend to use he and she pretty loosely because I tend to use she even when they're out of drag because I think of them as drag queens, and so in my head I'm picturing their persona. If that's incorrect, it's a mistake as opposed to a choice. I'm not choosing to misgender them. So anyway, one of the things that did come up, I was a little surprised because my assumption was that everybody knows each other. So when they were doing it and all of a sudden the verse that they recorded, which we didn't see, came up, really threw Gottmik because they hadn't discussed with everyone that they were transgender yet. I guess I took it for granted that the rest of the drag community would know who each other was, which I know is not correct. They don't all know each other. And really threw Gottmik, didn't want to stop and be like, okay, by the way, people, and just kind of pressed on. And I think that affected their performance a little bit. But overall, I thought the performance was good. I can never understand anyone's lyrics. So when Matthews, I can't think of his first name now, was saying that he didn't understand what Candy Muse was rapping, I was like, oh, join the club. I never can. There's something in my head that just hears sounds and has a hard time putting them together with words. Anyway, so I'm all over the place. We don't have a bottom this time. We just have two tops. They lip sync for the winner, and that's it. Simone wins. Well deserved. I admit that when Simone walked in, gorgeous face right off the bat, I wasn't necessarily thinking heavy hitter, which is kind of what happened with Jada. With Jada, I was like, oh, a beautiful face. And then slowly over several episodes, I started to go like, wow, she's really funny. She's super smart. She makes really good choices. That's kind of what's happening with Simone. Is that I'm starting to go, oh. A lot of people love her other looks. They weren't bad. For me, though, the boxer was such a standout that I can't see anything else. So that means end of the second episode, no one's gone home. We assume, well, we've seen the previews, but at this point, we assumed that everyone else was going to come back. It was a little rough. So I know that was hugely rambling, but hit me up in the comments. Tell me who was strong that I ignored? Who was so weak and you can't believe I didn't mention it? Who are you looking forward to? How are you liking the format? Do you have similar concerns to me where you kind of wish they were warned, like more tricks are coming, so don't start making assumptions that we're top 6 and we're all done, or whether you think that's good and it's showing their true colors. Okay, bye. Whoop.